MMBA is privileged to have the one who is fondly called as the walking library of Madras High Court by the advocate fraternity, who is none other than our Hon'ble Mr. Justice N. Anand Venkatesh, the befitting person for opening the library section and to deliver the special address. May I now request our Hon'ble Mr. Justice N. Anand Venkatesh J. to deliver a special address.
President MMBA, the other office bearers of MMBA, Mr. Rajesh Vrudachalam, senior advocates, my beloved junior advocates, good evening to all. I stand here with a very sense of pride that I have been called to inaugurate a library section in the name of the doyen of the criminal bar, Mr. Vrudachalam. I feel it an honor and thank you so much for inviting me for this. I have not seen him in action, but I have heard about him from Justice S. Nagamuthu because he was very closely associated with him, and the style of Mr. Vrudachalam was reflected in the manner in which Justice Nagamuthu used to do trial cases. I have seen some of the depositions where Justice Nagamuthu had cross-examined and all that. I'll find that it will not exceed 1 to 1.5 pages. So these are sparks, I think, which he has basically cultivated, inculcated by watching the doyen Mr. Vrudachalam Reddy. Library, as we all know, has different connotations for different persons. One of my friends who has a big library in his office, I asked him whether you have read any of these books. He said, I keep adding books to the library only to increase the fees of my clients. So for him, the library is to get more fees from the client. For some others, library is a place to come sit and rest. For some, library is a place to come and keep watching WhatsApp messages and Facebook, Twitter messages. A place where you can peacefully sit and keep scrolling the social media. For some, library is a good place for a short nap. There are persons who use the library to gossip. And there are very few who actually use library for the purpose for which it is meant. This is reality. So, this library as a concept started right from the time of Mesopotamia, 3500 BC, where they used to have clay and they used to emboss on that clay. And those clays were stored. And that's how the concept of library came. And this is right back at 3500 BC. And the greatest moment came when paper was used, and that is one of those most important events where man started storing the materials, the writings, everything in a more compact and comfortable manner after paper started being put to use. Until the 1990s that was the case. I would say even up to 2000 that was the case. So the only way in which we used to use a library is to take books from the library and keep paper புரட்டுவோம். புரட்டுறது தடவறதுக்கு போச்சு. That is when we started using pads. So the concept of a library containing books is slowly changing but very rapidly changing. So, as a library to my generation or a generation before me is a place consisting of books under various categories where you can go pick a book, read. But it is now taking a transformation. Library can also be a place without books. Library can be a place where you can access books not in its physical form but in its electronic mode. You can access it through as an electronic mode. Now there is a further development which has come, which is audio books. So, Poratavana, தடவனா கேட்கணும். And you will use a library for that purpose. Today what I am saying may sound like some joke, but 10 years down the line you will find people sitting with some sort of an earplug and hearing to things. So audio books have now started picking up. The present generation is more in favor of books in the pad form or in the audio form, and I don't find them getting anywhere near the physical books which we are seeing in libraries. So that is one more transformation that has taken place in the concept of a library. So the question which we have to ask ourselves is, what is a library? If we think that library is a place where books are stacked and that is a library, that is one way of understanding a library. It is not necessary that library should be understood only in that manner. Library can be a place where a man can evolve. A man can really evolve. A man can really get enlightened. A man can really educate himself with new things. And so library is something which I would equate even with a puja room, where you get in order to talk with the Almighty and to purify yourself and to get more clarity. I would equate a library even to that. The present generation is faced with a very big challenge of phones, pads and laptops. Basically, I would say that the biggest villain in that is the phone. As it is, we have a problem in focusing on anything. Our brain is structured in such a way that it's very difficult to really focus on something. And the moment we start focusing on it, what generally happens is that we lose track of time. The more we focus on something, we get away from this time zone. And that is why when we hear to some good songs, or when we start reading an interesting book, by the time we turn back, we would have swallowed 2.5-3 hours easily. And this is something which I am experiencing in court on a daily basis. I will only know that 10:30 there, and all of a sudden there will be this bell ringing at 1:30. So I will be so engaged with the advocates for that entire period. The reason why I am saying is that library is a place where you can get into this focus. But the challenge is the gadgets which are continuously disturbing us from focusing on anything. I recently read that if you are completely focused in something and you get distracted, it really takes 25 minutes for you to get back to the original position, to the original focus. It takes 25 minutes. With a gadget near you, it becomes impossible. There is no way you can get into the same focus. So usage of library is going to be greatly challenged because of distractions. Because of distractions that is going to take place at an unimaginable level. Already while somebody is listening to me, I know somebody is already meddling with their mobile phone and looking at what messages are. Most of those messages are all useless. But as a habit, the brain has got so addicted to it that it continuously distracts us. So usage of a library to open new sections, it is great to add books. But let us ask ourselves, how effectively are we using it? That's the question. Inauguration, photographs, biscuits, tea, coffee, all that is fine. But that's not the purpose. The purpose is to use it. How effectively are we going to use the library? Insofar as this library is concerned, I am reminded of somewhere in 2013 or so, I had come here to argue some case. The admission was over very early. And SNJ, as usual, had appointed me as an amicus curiae for some case. So I had to work. You know, when SNJ appoints somebody as an amicus curiae, ஏதோ விவகாரம் இருக்குன்னு அர்த்தம் அதில். So I came and I remember sitting in one of those desks. The issue involved was that there was a decree for restitution of conjugal rights. As you all know, under the Hindu Marriages Act, if the order is not complied with for a period of 1 year, that by itself becomes a ground for divorce. That by itself becomes a ground for divorce. That is one issue. Other issue is how far is it enforceable under Order 21 Rule 32, restitution of conjugal rights, and how far a husband can take advantage where he himself is the defaulter. He did not comply with the order of restitution of conjugal rights, and he says 1 year period has elapsed, I am filing for divorce. So this was the issue. And as usual, I got into that court. SNJ said, please come, you are the amicus curiae. So this was the issue, and I vividly remember that I came here, sat, requested the attendant to bring the Hindu law, the judgments, this and that. By the time I completed, it took something like 2 to 3 hours. By the time I completed, I knew the answer for the entire thing. By then the attendants had helped me in getting the copies of all those judgments. And with a great sense of pride, I went and stood before SNJ 2 days thereafter. And SNJ was all praise for me. And he passed the judgment where he reflected my name as the amicus curiae. Now, the issue is not to trumpet what I said. The issue is, that's the whole purpose of a library. That's what a library can do. A library can really bring a spark in you, a new thought in you. A library can show a different dimension on a same issue which has been seen from a particular point of view. A library is a place which can enrich you. And the man about whom we are all talking, Dr. Ambedkar, what was his strength? Where did he get that strength? He believed no one except the books and libraries. And he always said that if you want that strength, if you want people to respect you, the only way you can come up is through that education. And there is no other shorter way. Nobody was able to question him, nobody was able to say anything, and he was a man who played such a major role in our constitution. So, according to me, what made him that great was a library. And we used to hear that every evening the attendant used to send him. He will not even know what the time is. He will enter the library when it is open, and he will leave only when the attendant asks him to leave in the night. So that much of focus has taken place, and that is why he is such a great man. And what made him so great? What made him so great is a library like this. So my sincere request to the members of the bar is that there is a greater significance for a library, and you must be prepared to use the library with a different mode. These books, this physical mode, I don't know whether it will survive for another 15 years. So, of course, even today, even though I am advising, even today, I am not able to understand anything by doing this. எனக்கு அப்படி நகர்த்தணும், பேப்பரை பிரிக்கணும், அண்டர்லைன் பண்ணணும், அதனுடைய புக்கு ஸ்மெல்லாம் தெரியணும். Meaning there is so much of influence that it becomes a mind block for me. I am not able to really get over it. People think that I am very good in technology. Nothing. எனக்கு வந்து I am not able to get that sync at all. என்னால் படித்தா அதை ரீடைன் கூட பண்ண முடியல. வேற ஒரு பேப்பரை படித்தா அந்த 23வது பேஜ் அப்படி ஞாபகம் வருது. It's like a block, and in fact there is a big study that is going on in neuroscience about that, as to why there is a difference between reading a book and why you don't get the same feeling when you go through the same thing in a pad. They say when you read a book, it's like identifying certain places before you reach the destination. For instance, to reach my destination, you will have to cross one police booth, and there will be one lamp post, and thereafter there will be one red building, and the next house is my house. When we read the book, this thing happens. When we read a book, that 4th page, we did something. On the 18th page, Osu adichom. On the 21st page, we had put an underline. So, when the destination is something which is available at the 50th page, and something crops up, what our brain does is, it does the same thing. It goes through all this and immediately comes up with an answer at the 50th page. But this facility is not available when we do it in an electronic mode, because at any given point of time, what is available is that page. You don't have the book as such with you. That is the reason why you don't get the same feel when you read it. But if I tell this to the present generation, they will give me a name called as Boomer Mama. They don't agree with all these things. My own son says you are a boomer. Boomer is somebody who is born 64 and before. I am not that age, but he will say you are a perfect boomer. What are you blabbering is what he is asking. So, when he is asking, instead of getting irritated, I was just thinking what is he saying, because he is able to comfortably read it in a system. He is able to comfortably read it in a pad or in a phone, and he is able to retain it. So I thought that it's more a sort of brain mapping here. We are yet to get out of it. The reason why I am saying all this is that the future libraries are going to be without physical books. It is going to have chairs, it is going to have all comforts, but you will not find books. And that is where we are moving into. And those will also be called as libraries only. And it's such a happy occasion where I came with so much of load from the court. Now I am completely relaxed, and thank you so much for inviting me to this function. My best wishes to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lordship, for your enlightened words about library.